Hey, Saucy but Sweet fam. Now, unless you've been living under a very, very large rock, you've probably heard about the allegations against Diddy and the celebrities and victims who've spoken out against him and who continue to. Diddy was once a respected man. Growing up, he seemed to be the hip-hop mogul that everyone respected and revered. But once it was revealed who he really was, he seemed to get a new reputation as a predator, abuser, and soon-to-be felon. Same with Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. He was seen as a musical genius in my childhood. His music was celebrated, and he was a freethinker who spoke his mind. But over the past few years, his reputation took a very dark turn. If you're like me and intrigued by what has been going on and how it is impacting our culture, stay tuned.
You are now listening to Saucy but Sweet with Ali McPherson, a podcast where nothing is off limits, where we talk about everything from romance, sex, pop culture, and everything in between. Sit back, relax, and enjoy an unfiltered time where we keep it sweet and always saucy.
I am so happy to have JaJuan Malachi joining us today. So hello, JaJuan. Welcome to Saucy but Sweet with Ali McPherson. You are a new friend of the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, Ali. I'm doing well. I can't complain. It's been a great day so far. You know, it's a holiday, President's Day.
Yes.
So definitely somewhat of a day off, but, you know, over here as entrepreneurs and hard workers, you know, we don't really take too much time off. So
we don't know how to stop. I mean, this is, you know, just for the listeners to know, yeah, this is recorded on President's Day. And as entrepreneur myself and podcaster, I might be, you know, off from my full-time job, but I still got my side hustles and I'm like, oh no, we doing this. There's no days off.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so since this is the first time you're on the show, can you introduce yourself for those who don't know you? I'm sure some of my listeners are aware of your work, but, you know, don't be afraid to be a shameless plug right now.
Well, my name is JaJuan Malachi. I am a culture journalist. I've been working in media for about 8 years. I'm a native New Yorker, born and raised, educated.
What?
Shout out to us. We're a rare breed nowadays, but yeah, I grew up half of my life in Bed-Stuy. Then I moved to the Bronx, went to NYU for undergrad, lived in London for a little bit, lived in Atlanta. Then I moved back to Brooklyn in 2021, I believe.
Wow. When you said Bronx, I was like, come on, represent. Come on. Let's go. Because I lived in the Bronx for 15 years, but I was born in the Upper East Side. And so now I'm back in the Upper East Side. So I'm back in my roots, but I'm always going to respect the people from the Bronx. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now I feel you. Not too far away. Yeah,
exactly.
That's
yeah.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like the Upper East Side. I haven't been over there in a while, but I got to make my way up. I got to make my way back up there, you know. Those long commutes on the train, it's tough.
Very tough. Very. I understand that. Yeah. But I want to say, you know, as an arts and culture writer at heart, although I do many different things, arts and culture writing was kind of my first love. I really admire your career in journalism. You know, it's incredibly hard to make it in entertainment and culture. And so kudos to be able to make that happen and like be able to eat off of that and like pay bills off of that. Cause that is a struggle, man.
Yeah. Nah, you ain't saying nothing but a word, man. For real, you preach it to the choir. You know, I think I like to think of it as a byproduct of favor, of God's favor in my life. And, you know, I'm just very fortunate to have had the trajectory I've had over the 8 years that I've been in media. Arts and culture is a main staple of my identity. In particular, Black culture is something that resonates with me deeply. And I find myself to be a very diligent steward of my culture. So, you know, I'm just honored and privileged or recognize that I'm privileged to have this opportunity. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I wrote for BET for years and I was freelancing for them. And the biggest name I feel like I've ever interviewed is like Nick Cannon. I remember I did Nick Cannon, which to this day I'm still like, yo, I interviewed Nick Cannon. That's freaking crazy. Like, and you know the question I wanted to ask him. Probably.
Oh yeah. We know what you wanted to ask him. That man need to take several seats. We're pro Nick Cannon though. We're pro Nick Cannon over here.
We pro Nick Cannon. Yo, Nick Cannon, if you listen to this, we love you, but we got some questions. Yeah. So speaking of celebrities, let's get into it. As you know, for this episode, we really wanted to dig into like the whole what's going on with Diddy and Ye. And I'm just curious to know, since you're very knowledgeable about entertainment culture and you've written for a lot of different outlets, were you a big Diddy and Ye fan growing up? Like, did that kind of get you into the
Uh,
culture writing? Like, how was that for you?
yeah, that's a great question. Well, I guess I'll start with the Diddy situation. Yeah, I've been a proponent of Diddy. Or I was a proponent of Diddy for, a very long time. I wasn't, he was a staple of the culture. He's created so many hits. He's responsible for cultivating such a strong infrastructure for Black and brown people to thrive in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he was like a pillar of our community. And so, growing up, I would listen to all his hits, More Money, More Problems, Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah, man.
What else? He had that joint with Keisha Cole. I forgot that
Last
joint.
night.
Oh yeah, Last
Oh,
Night.
I'm about to start singing that right now, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna disrespect my listeners and sing Diddy because we don't fuck with Diddy right now. Last night, I'm not gonna hold you. If that comes on, I'm gonna sing to
I
it.
feel you. I feel you. It has like that nostalgic kind of vibe, that 06, 07,
Oh
kind of
man.
like Alicia Keys, No One energy, like that era. But yeah, I mean, I was just totally astounded, just like everybody else, to hear about, his extracurricular exploits and things of that nature. And, it's just truly disheartening
Yeah.
to see somebody of such magnitude, of such high influence,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, commit so many egregious crimes against humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I'm for speaking truth to power, as a journalist, and I'm also for indicting people that commit to wrongdoings. So Diddy is definitely in a hot seat right now, and I mean, if he actually did do what he's being accused of, then he should get slammed.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like done are the days of not holding people accountable, especially powerful individuals, irrespective of their background, irrespective of their influence. We've seen, the Rkellys and the Bill
Yep.
Cosbys go down for, whatever abhorrent things they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't think anything should be done differently regarding Diddy's situation. So, it truly hurts my heart though, being a culture journalist and having to see that other side,
Mm-hmm.
um, that we never like were really exposed to. It's always that duality, that dichotomy,
Mm-hmm.
between, the exterior versus what actually happens internally. And going
Mm.
back to Ye, Ye was like one of my favorite artists growing up. I have vivid memories of listening to Graduation in the
Yeah.
car with
Yeah.
my dad, just vibing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
young. I'm like 10 years old, vibing to his music and
Mm-hmm.
to the progressive and futuristic nature of his sound. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was actually just talking about Ye. I've admired Ye for a long time, but I feel like now it's getting to a point where I'm struggling with separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
I would even define him as like one of my problematic faves at one point.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, bro, like you promoting hate with the whole swastika situation. When he's like selling swastika merch on his website, I'm like, bro, like, we can't condone that. I can't support that. So, you know, I don't know. I'm on my last end with
Yeah.
Ye. That's how I'm feeling. Like, and honestly, I feel like what happened to him in the industry is tragic. He's a victim of his own
Yep.
success.
Yep.
And I feel like he's had so many yes men around him ever since the tragic death of his mom,
Mm-hmm.
back in the mid 20s, 2010 or 2000s rather. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's like in a very precarious state right now mentally. I think that he really needs to like take a sabbatical, take a hiatus from
Mm-hmm.
the spotlight. He has this like haphazard, uncanny addiction to the spotlight, and it's just like it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
To be frank, it's just totally weird and perverse. So
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And you brought up having a hard time separating the art from the artist. Like, even with last night, when we were talking about with Keisha Cole, that Diddy, the song Diddy made, I can separate that song from the artist. Like, I can listen to that and still be like, fuck Diddy, you know? And Keisha Cole's still on that song. You know what I mean? So it's like, to just throw away a whole song no matter who's featured in it, I find that difficult to do. Like even Chris Brown, I was a huge Chris Brown fan. Now, I don't like him personally, but it's hard for me to not listen to that song he did with DeVito. What was that song?
Sensational.
No, that other one.
No, I
One
don't
other
know.
one that had me, you know, like I forgot the name of it.
Oh, I don't vividly recall
That's
myself.
gonna bother me. Let me look this up because that's gonna really bother me. It's Afro pop. Oh shit. Oh no, never mind. Lower Body. That one. Lower Body DeVito, featuring DeVito. Like I just named those songs and I just kind of did a little dance right there. Like I can separate that from Chris Brown being what I think he's a terrible person. Personal.
Yeah. The thing is, I feel like one thing that people forget about celebrities and talent is that they're human beings just like any of the rest of us. That's one thing I've definitely realized and come to terms with, having interviewed so many different people over the years that I've been in the industry. And, you know, they're not exempt from, you know, making human mistakes, human errors. As a society in America, we like to place these people on pedestals so much. We like to extol them and praise them to the utmost degree. And while their accolades and their contributions to society are very impactful, you know, they're not impervious. Like, they're not infallible human beings. Like, these people, you know, wake up how we do, you know, go to bed how we do, have aspirations, have doubts, you know, we just aren't really exposed to the various nuances. I mean, with the advent of social media and things like that, we have a lot more access than we did before, which, you know, comes with its own set of pros and cons. But yeah, I think in terms of like the concept of separating the art from the artist, I think that everyone is selective about that. I think that, you know, we pick and choose who we want to save and salvage versus, you know, who we want to discard and denounce, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure everybody has like their own criteria and threshold for like how they go about that process. I don't know. It's certain artists, like, I guess I'll just be honest, like, I feel like I've been separating the art from the artist for Ye for a long time, just because of how impactful his discography was in my life soundtrack. You know, Late Registration, The College Dropout. You know, those first 5 albums are flawless albums. And these entities are gonna stand the test of time.
Yeah.
You know, now I don't know. I don't know if I could call Ye my one of my problematic babes or whatever anymore. Like,
yeah.
And so I'm choosing to stand on business with that. Like, you can't support someone's music and while they're also like a very public advocate for hate. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that and, you know, live with yourself and have a clean conscience with that.
And it's funny, it's interesting to me too, because social media was something that in a lot of ways was wasn't created to benefit them, but like it has benefited the celebrity and the you know, big name artists. And yet Kanye used social media as a tool to like destroy his career. Like it just like if it wasn't for social media, right? I don't know if Kanye would have even been known as this person that he is now. But the Twitter and it just went insane. And each time it gets crazier because he's been doing this for years. So it's not like we're like, oh my God, he said something crazy. He's been saying dumb shit for so long. And we've been saying, oh, well, he's mentally ill, as if that's an excuse. And as if everyone who's mentally ill turns into Kanye. Because Azalea Banks did the same shit. And she's kind of done. Like, she was kind of done. But Kanye does it. And people are like, oh, well, he's still Kanye. You know, I don't. Yeah,
I think the vast majority of people kind of resonate with my sentiment that, you know, his music is so impactful to the fabric of American culture. Whereas in Azalea Banks, no shade, no tea, but, you know, she's no Ye.
Yeah.
She's no Ye. She doesn't have the same ubiquitous impact. She doesn't harbor the same degree of influence. And she doesn't have the widespread footprint, I would say. The global footprint that Ye has. And so I think certain people possess enough clout to surpass some of these indictments, some of these public indictments. But yeah, I mean, Ye is like slowly proving that he's like a very polarizing figure that's making it really difficult to even teeter that line. Like it's becoming like a very black and white thing with him.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was curious to know too, like once Cassie made the allegations against Diddy, before the video came out of him abusing her, did you have any idea that this was only the beginning of knowing who the real Diddy was? Like when those allegations came out, were you like, man, this could lead into things that even people in the past have said that we forgot, like Danny Kane. Shout out to
Yeah,
Aubrey O'Day, who's been talking about him for years and nobody's listened to her.
yeah, yeah. Well, I will say it was very jarring. It was extremely jarring to hear about that very unfortunate news. Especially after kind of like the resurgent kind of year that Diddy had with, the advent of his Love album, Off the Grid, and, being honored at the VMAs, performing with all these like notable figures and, just being so out in the open with it, for such a drastic public shift to take place kind of hit the world by storm. But what's in the dark is always gonna come to light. Like
Yep.
I'm a firm believer in that.
Yes.
And Diddy was kind of wielding his power in a very reprehensible way.
Yeah.
He thought he was perfect. He thought he could get away with anything and not have to pay the price for his sins. And so, I think it's very important to take down figures with that degree of power. We've seen Harvey Weinstein go down as well. Irrespective of race, color, creed, religion, impact, whatever. If you're doing evil things, it's imperative that we get you booked.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so many people have been coming out, like Danny Kane. I think other bands he worked with were like making the band about who he was and things like just things that now it's like, yeah, that does make sense. And there was a video that came out of him yelling to his crew or something at some point. And like, no matter how powerful you think you are or how you are in the media, you will be taken down. Like nobody is untouchable. Like, I think this really taught it because Kanye for a long time and Diddy were untouchable. Now it's like, no, they're not. And Chris Brown, in time, he'll learn his lesson too. I think he did learn his lesson a little bit with the Rihanna thing, but I think he's also been getting away with more. But people are like, oh, well, he's so sexy. He's so good at what he does. He apologized to Rihanna. Rihanna forgave him. And now he's back to being like the untouchable. And it's like, yo, you're gonna see it too, Chris. Like he's next, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, Breezy. It looked like Breezy is on the chopping block soon too. For me, Breezy is another kind of like entity that I've been very fond of for many years. I think that he's kind of plateaued a little bit. Like he's kind of got a little complacent, and I mean, I hope that it's my greatest hope that he doesn't continue to damage his reputation. But at the same time, these are habits that are formed. Habits then turn into lifestyles. And then lifestyles define who you are. So, I can't ignore the accusations of colorism against women. I can't ignore the extreme occurrences of abuse. I can't, like, it's but so much of that you can ignore before like truly holding these individuals accountable. And so, the same rings true for Breezy. Like, as much as I have all these fond memories listening to his music growing up and, just embracing in the alchemy of his brand as an artist, he got to get it. He got to get it too if that's what it needs to come down to.
Exactly. Yeah. And also, I always, although I have done an episode on Kanye West in the past for this podcast, part of me is like, damn, I hate giving him more attention than he already has, because I think we've given him so many like second chances. I honestly think that he kind of enjoys being the villain, and like actually like he just enjoys it. Like, how much can I do? Like, how much can I get away with? And so talking about him always kind of makes me feel like, damn, like he wants this. Like he didn't do it thinking, oh, people are gonna love that I said that I love Hitler. Like, he didn't type those things out to be like, people are gonna love this. He was like, I know I'm gonna get people mad, and what? And so part of me is like, damn, like you don't want to ignore it because it is harmful, but it's like we are kind of giving him what he wants. I don't know. Like, it's like, how do we reconcile that? Like, because he does need to be held accountable, though, you know?
Yeah. It's like a bit of a catch-22, damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation.
Yeah.
You know, he eats off of this, he feeds off of it. This is a certain perverse fetish that he has. You know, it's a very odd affinity for attention. And I think he got so used to the attention, he's developed a very unhealthy addiction to it. And I think that he might need like some type of conservatorship.
Yeah.
Like we think about
Maybe.
the Britney Spearses and the Wendy Williams and all of that. Like, Ye really needs to shut it all down, like, and like really regroup if he wants to salvage the integrity of his brand and the integrity of his legacy. Like, he really needs to like consider that.
I never heard that angle before.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like the conservatorship thing has been in the news for several years now, and we hear about how it's been kind of misused. And of course, I wouldn't want that to be the case with him, but at the same time, there needs to be some type of checks and balances implemented when it comes to Ye, because he's doing a lot more harm than good. He's contributing to a lot more detriment, not only for himself, but for the betterment of society and the world as a whole.
Exactly. And it's interesting, too, because I've never heard of like men being on conservatorships. I wonder the percentage of that. Like, I know like with Brittany, Wendy, it's like the women. And for them, I mean, and in Amanda Bynes, I think she was in a conservatorship as well, because she's very unwell. But never men, you know what I mean? So Kanye would be kind of the first time we see this in the media of a man having conservatorship over him. But then who would be, I mean, his mom's not around anymore. I wonder like who would be the one to be like, you need that. Kim can't do it because she's not, his ex-wife. But I wonder. And then I also wonder now, maybe it's some conspiracy theories, that's why he's divorcing his current wife. Maybe because she wants to do that. I don't know.
I mean, that's a great theory.
Yeah.
That's a great theory. I think that, honestly, his current wife, Bianca, I feel like she was sort of used as a prop to kind of bolster his ego further. And I don't know, I feel bad that she even subjected herself to that, but, when somebody like Ye is, wielding his power, his abundant power over you, I'm sure most people would crack under those type of circumstances. And so, now I feel like she's in this process of looking at herself in the mirror and evaluating, like, is this the lifestyle I want to lead moving forward? Is there any longevity in terms of a healthy relationship? Is this conducive for my livelihood as an individual? Or is this just dismantling, my brand before it even gets started for real? So, I think that as far as she goes, I think that, that concept of her spearheading his conservatorship is a cool one. But I think he needs somebody that is like more close to home, more close to his camp, who would be able to kind of possess a proper stewardship over that type of impact on his life. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw her at the Grammys. We saw them at the Grammys together, and that was alarming for a lot of people because they were like, what is going on here? And just even with Julia Fox, like right after, I remember him and Kim got divorced, and Julia Fox was the new woman that he was parading around. And later on, she kind of admitted like that was not a good situation I was in, and she admitted it later on. They were only together for like a couple weeks, actually.
Yeah.
And then the way that he abused Kim, you know, the way that he, you know, really trashed her family. I'm not defending the Kardashians, but like he did trash her family and try to trash her, talked about the kids. Then he went after Pete Davidson, and a lot of people, I don't know if they take that as seriously as they should. Like the way that he was coming after Pete Davidson and had other fans coming against him was sick.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really sad. I'm sorry Pete had to go through that. I'm sorry Kim had to go through that. I don't know. It's just been a bunch of undying shenanigans, and he keeps going with the antics. He keeps going with the exploitative energy, the illicit energy, and yeah, I don't know. I just feel like he is the empire and the positive aura that he cultivated early on in his career is just being totally washed away right now. And it's so sad to see, so tragic, especially within the Black community. It's not too many major pillars like a Ye, who's reached like that billionaire status, who's he got, I don't even know how many Grammys he has, but he's up there in terms of like all-time Grammys and things of that nature. But
talented man.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see like what the conversation is going to be like 10 to 15 years from now, because you know, if he continues down this path, it's only going to lead to more destruction and disarray. So
there's going to be classes on this in school, like for real, like hip hop study classes are going to get into the downfall of Diddy and Ye that nobody's ever seen. Nobody has seen. And Jay-Z, let me tell you, I gotta give it to Jay-Z. That news came out next day, probably that night he had typed it out, and the next day he was like, well, not him, but his people had typed it out or whatever. And he was like, don't put me there. I don't even know these niggas. Like, what? Like,
yeah,
I gotta give it. You don't hear nothing anymore. You know what I mean? Jay-Z was able to like.
Jay's team was very prompt.
Yeah.
I think prompt is a very adequate word for this. And I think that Jay was like very no nonsense, very matter of fact about the situation. Like, hey, I know you might have had this and that situation with these people, but let me distance myself. And let me just reestablish that, you know, I am not in cahoots. I'm not complicit with any of this. And I think that was a good move on Jay's part. You know, hopefully that is the truth.
Yeah.
Because I'm a proponent for the truth. So, you know, if it isn't the truth, then that's one thing. But if it is the truth, shout out to Jay and his team.
Yeah.
For, you know, protecting and salvaging his name and his reputation.
And for his kids and his wife, right? Because if that, you know what I mean? If that kind of gets out and it's lies, how's that doing for Beyonce and the children that they have to go to school and hear that? Like, that's tough. And speaking of children, something else I noticed too was like Rkelly. Now he is a horrible person, so I'm not saying I feel bad for him. But his kids to this day are like, nah, we don't know that nigga. We don't know, nah. Diddy's kids are like, hey, dad. Like I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
What's going on?
There's a stark contrast for sure. I don't know. I feel like Diddy was a bit more hands-on.
Yeah.
In his children's lives. You know, you could see photos and videos of them together, even as recent as like last year or whatever. And so, you know, they seem like they gonna ride for him.
Yeah.
Ride or die. You know, irrespective of what he did. So, you know, I mean, it's par for the course. It's not very far-fetched that they would be doing this. He indoctrinated them too.
And his son, especially the Christian.
Yeah, King Combs.
Oh, yeah.
Christian King Combs, yeah. Spitting image, and
in a bad way too. Not even just looking like him, but just his behavior. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Total modern day carbon copy replica. It's so interesting to see. I feel like a lot of it is hereditary, but a lot of it is also learned. I'm sure Christian was right there in those in the background. I'm part of me is like kind of curious about whether they were like savvy on any of this. Like, were they as ignorant as the general public, or like were they like totally aware? Like I think that's one thing that nobody has like really examined, and so I'm just curious to see what that looks like.
We'll be right back with Saucy but Sweet with Ali McPherson. Are you ready to become the best version of yourself and live your best life? Are you tired of feeling stuck in your career, relationships, and your day-to-day routine? It all begins with you. In order to give your best, you have to become your best self. Stop living by default and create the life you want. I remember when there was a time where I felt like I had no control over my life. And the best life coach / relationship coach to help me put my life back together is Odette Coronel. If you are a hardworking, independent, successful woman who lacks energy, focus, and direction, feels overwhelmed, stressed, and anxious, thinks there is never enough time, puts herself in the bottom of your priority list, feels a lack of connection in your marriage or relationship, or if you feel stuck and afraid of change, Odette can help. You don't have to keep struggling, and you don't have to figure it out alone. Odette has found the tools to learn how to stop living by default and start creating the life and the relationship that she wanted, and help countless clients do the same. Visit www.odettecoronel.com. She will definitely change your life.
The whole Rkelly situation. Rkelly is behind bars.
Yeah.
Right now.
Forever.
He's been locked up. Throw away the key, and it's so sad. It's sad to see even him go through this, to be honest. But I think that the victims deserve justice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So no matter how good the music was, no matter how many fond memories we had at the family barbecues and the cookouts.
Step in the name of love.
We had to step in the name of loves and bonding time with the family. It's all disgraced. It's all disgraced by those personal choices that were made. And I think that their situations are emblematic of the dangers of giving people these like unlimited doses of power, and just allowing them to run with it. There's a quote that I have in my peer view often. It's like absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I forgot whose quote it was. One of those, like Socrates or one of them, but it's very true. Very, very true. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and we're seeing it hands on with these luminaries, these former luminaries.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. I remember watching the Rkelly documentaries. I couldn't stop watching it. I mean, they're very well made, and just it also sickened me to hear about the Aaliyah situation. And she's not here to talk about it herself. But it seemed based on, her former partner, based on what he had said, she didn't want to mess with him after all that. Like, she experienced some things from him too. And I mean, even the fact that he was with her when she was a child, I mean, that's abuse. Because I mean, it's just sick. And the fact that Rkelly, I do want to say, when it comes to separating the music from the artists, from their art, Rkelly, it's tougher to do that because I think his music was used to lure young women and children, right? I think his music was what he was singing about and everything like that. Like, it makes me disgusted to think he's singing to like a young girl, and in the video of him peeing on a 14-year-old girl, like all of that, I'm like, nah, I can't listen to half the shit that you put out because I don't know if it was about this 14, 13-year-old. Like, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. I never thought about it from that angle. Him like kind of utilizing it as a tool. But when you look at it in hindsight, I don't know. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's a very coherent theory. So yeah, that it just kind of like adds a very nasty twist.
Yeah.
Very unsavory twist to all of the great music he put out over the course of his multi-decade career. So
yeah, and I mean, again, not to big him up right now, but like, he couldn't even read, right? Like, he was like illiterate, and look at what he's done with the music and what it's like, damn, you know what I mean? So I can understand people being like, oh man, like, why you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, it is you did it to yourself, bro.
That's true. And You know what I feel like led to his demise? I think it was like the Me Too movement, you know?
Oh yeah.
The Me Too movement was very instrumental in kind of like establishing that second wave of accountability and justice because as it was that whole Pete on the girl situation, like really early on, like I think the early 2000s or something. And I remember the Boondocks even did an episode on it, which
Yeah, I
was which was
remember.
yeah, which was crazy. And back then, the black community was like not going for that. The black community was like, oh, y'all trying to take my R. Kelly, our R. Kelly to jail? Like, nah, like we need them hits. We need that hit factory moving. So, I mean, some would even say that black people were kind of complicit
Yeah,
with some of
for
his
years.
antics.
For
And
years.
and yeah, I mean, what does that even say about our culture
Yeah.
that are we just so brainwashed by the music that, we can't even look at the writing on the wall or
Hmm.
look at the facts. Like our perception is so distorted because we just shucking and jiving to 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 the delightful sounds of Robert Kelly. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
and it is, and being like, oh, that's our R. Kelly, that's our Diddy. No, it ain't. We don't know these motherfuckers. This should have taught these situations to teach people. You don't know anybody. We don't know Donald Trump. We don't know him either. You think we know him? We don't. We
Yeah,
don't know Obama. I'm no disrespect. I love Obama, but we don't know him. Obama could be crazy as fuck. So we don't know these people. So to sit here and act, oh, it's our because they're the same skin color. We're learning with these two men, Ye and Diddy. Oh no, you can't do that because you don't know these people, and they're showing you who they are. And like you said, what happens in the dark always comes to light, and I believe that. I believe that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I agree.
yeah.
I agree. And I hope that in the future, when if it comes down to it, if we have to hold even more people accountable
Mm-hmm.
that we have yet to gain knowledge of in terms of whatever they might be doing behind closed doors that are that's heinous. I look forward to that seeing that happen too because I know unfortunately I've been a victim before and I know what it feels like to have a degree of victimhood and to not be recognized or
Mm-hmm.
not be heard for people to like attempt to silence you. Like it's not a great feeling at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I strive for justice. I promote justice for the victims who are currently going through something that we're not even aware of. I think just the level of power that these people have obtained give them the ability to do things that the average person can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And if that kind of like spears or that kind of like leans into more of this evil territorial,
Mm-hmm.
these people need to be held accountable. And so I'm looking forward to holding everyone accountable. But I
Mm-hmm.
want, in terms of the justice system, I want them to give everybody the smoke that is doing things of this nature. So
Exactly. Exactly. And that brings me to my last point too of like, man, this is making us look at how we view celebrities, right? Like they're not untouchable, they're not ours, right? Like I think we idolize them to white or black, Spanish, doesn't matter. Like we idolize them in a really inappropriate way. And then we see this stuff happening and we kind of say, oh well, they're so talented, oh they're so this, it's fine. And I think it's making us examine like, man, how can we move forward with how we look at celebrity and art, that we can love the art but that doesn't mean that the artist is untouchable, right? Like I think this kind of we need to shift our mindset a little bit after this.
yeah, I agree, and I think that we need to establish um an approach
Yeah.
for sort of like a standard approach for how we handle these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is the first time in history where people of this magnitude are being held accountable in such a frequent cadence, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
as time progresses, we're gonna find out. We're gonna kind of like hone in on the right formula. But you know, for now, this is still pretty novel,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we gotta just allow the emotions to do what they're gonna do for now. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'll leave listeners with this: fuck Diddy, fuck Ye, fuck Donald Trump, fuck Rkelly.
yes, sir, yes, sir.
By
For
the way, this
sure.
is an explicit. I want to. This is an explicit podcast.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I appreciate that. Appreciate the candor.
Yeah.
From
Yeah, yeah. But this has been a really great conversation. Thank you for coming on and you know, using your expertise to really talk about these topics that are they're like controversial, and sometimes it's like, man, what's the right thing to say? But I think we did our thing on here. So thank you.
No doubt. Thank you so much, Ali, for having me. It was a pleasure having this conversation. I feel like this is a very much needed conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that holding truth to power is of the utmost importance, and we need to continue to do it, especially as journalists. So, yeah, shout out to you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in for this week's episode of Saucy but Sweet with Ali McPherson. And see y'all next time.